Hello, and welcome to Holistic Ambition, where we talk with visionary leaders who are redefining what it means to be successful. We cover ways you can live with more well being, meaning, and fun in your career, business, and relationships. I'm your host, Stephanie Thoma, career coach for ambitious professionals and author of Confident Introvert. Today, I'm so excited to welcome Jessica. She's a Californian turned Texan with expertise in different real estate markets. Jessica Yang is now embarking on a mobile beauty startup journey, Waxed, with ambitions to expand nationwide. So, welcome, Jessica. I'd love for us to just dive in. So, can you tell us what is Waxed? How did you get started with this?
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. And if you want to call me Jessie or Jess or whatever it is, Wext really came from my partner and I moved out to like a little city about 30 minutes away from downtown Austin about a year ago. And I'm still going to these beauty appointments. I'm a woman. There's, a lot of things to do. And so one day with the traffic and just everything going on, we're like, there must be an easier way. Like if we have Instacart for groceries, we have DoorDash and Postmates. Just tried looking at everything on the market, and there was nothing really for beauty. And I know that's going to happen. And so we just did some research, and like nobody's trying to do what we're going to attempt to do at the scale. And so that's kind of how it started, or the idea came about. But really, my mom had a couple salons growing up. So I lived in one of them and I grew up in one of those salons. So yeah, it's kind of coming full circle.
Wow. Okay. So that's awesome. So much here when it comes to growing up in a salon environment. And when it comes to the sort of services, can you let us know? So you got this idea. Can you walk us through the initial steps from turning your idea into something real?
Yeah, I think it really just comes with the idea in your head and then seeing if it's something that people want. Because just because you want it doesn't mean everybody else does. And so after talking to more women, talking to stay-at-home moms, or just being in the community, like I would see people's eyes light up and I was like, wait, there's something here. And so we're kind of turning it into this like a modern strategy. But after that, after you have a little bit of validity, you kind of start thinking, how do I do this? Like from A to Z. Baby steps, we still have a very long way to go. But probably putting the pitch deck together, talking to investors. We got our first investor during South by, and she was like not a fan or friend, family. She didn't know who the heck I was. And so I think just being authentic with your, and I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but being authentic in your pitch and what you want to do. And there's 8 billion people in the world. Like there has to be one person that understands what you're trying to do. So I think just aligning yourself with the right people, obviously know that it's a good product or service and just executing from there.
Yeah, so that's so awesome. So how did you connect? So we are based in Austin, Texas, and it's so great that you met your first investor at South by. Was there a pitching competition? Did you randomly meet this person? How did that happen?
I didn't even plan to go to this event, like which is really funny. But I saw this one woman post in this WhatsApp group, and she was like, "Hey, I'm speaking on this panel. It's a event for women," and I was like, "You know what? Like that's where I'm gonna go to." Because originally I was gonna go to the Consumer VC event, and I'm sure that was gonna be filled with a lot of guys, a lot of men that didn't have this pain point. And so I go to this event, and it was actually on my birthday.
Oh,
So that's funny. And I was just talking to, it's just like a group of women, and I'm just like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Like, would you guys use something like this? And just kind of getting acquainted. And I guess like within 10 minutes of speaking, this woman was like, I'll put first money in. And I was like, I don't really, like, are you serious? Like, I don't even know you, and you don't even know me. And then, just followed up. And when you're in a conversation with someone in real life, and that's part of the thing, like I don't think Zoom or Google Meet will ever be able to take this, but there is this kind of energy you can feel from the other person to see if they're good or not. Like I think most people have some kind of radar. So we just hit it off really, really well. And yeah, she's now officially signed on.
I love that you were going to go to an event that was more stereotypically, for the purposes of your business, consumer tech. It's like, okay, we're checking those boxes. But then it was almost like an intuitive inclination
Yeah.
encourage you, oh, what if I go to this women's thing instead? Maybe obviously not expecting that's going to translate into a certain outcome. And then I also can appreciate that, this VC said, I'm going to invest and then actually did. So, congratulations. That's a great birthday wish coming true. And, when it comes to founding a company, based on your past experiences, what do you think has contributed to your confidence as a founder in this space?
Um, I think I started failing early. I started doing really like I didn't go to college. And I just started becoming a real estate agent at 22. Like I did more real world experience. And I think there was definitely a hump of like the confidence and stuff. Like, when you're like in your adolescent age, when you're like 15, 17, like your hormones all over the place, you're definitely not a confident person. But I think with enough experience, you start to just figure out who you are. And so I think really just when you're in your 20s or even your 30s, like I think take as much risk as possible. And I guess, and I can't say that everybody has the same risk tolerance, but I think that you can't do the same thing when you're in your 50s and 60s. So why not learn earlier than later? So I think that's really helped my confidence, just like figuring it out and just doing a lot of things.
Yeah, it sounds like learning by doing. And instead of putting things off until, I don't know, some point in the future, doing them now and getting that information now and being in the present moment when it comes to something that is the most challenging that maybe you didn't expect that you're currently going through with Waxed. What would that look like?
Yeah. We always want things to happen faster than they do. And so I had this huge vision in my mind that I was like, we're gonna quickly get funded and this is gonna happen by summer. It's summer now. um, and we were actually going to get our first investment back in December, and that just kind of slipped through. That never happened, which is not rare. And I think just looking back and be like, maybe that was supposed to happen. Like maybe I wasn't supposed to get that kind of investment, and I was supposed to learn and build this network. So I think the biggest challenge is just knowing that and trusting yourself that everything's going to be okay, even if you're setting back. Maybe it's like the whole 5 steps back and 1 step forward kind of thing. So yeah, that's probably the biggest one. Just giving yourself the grace that it will happen, maybe not on your timeline, but whatever is supposed to happen will happen.
Yes, and something that I've noticed throughout your journey, I think I've known you for almost a year. We need to check LinkedIn, sure. But when it comes to curating the community around you, what I noticed that you are really good at is sort of sprinkling your presence amongst various different groups of diverse founders, different industries, different organizations. So can you tell us about how you are finding your people and your approach to connecting with a greater purpose of growing your business and your impact?
Yeah. Something I've learned from real estate, and there's just a lot of transferable skills, and I'm very grateful for my experience in that. But what I've learned is also it's just a numbers game. Like you want to reach as many people as you can so you can see which ones suit your personality or not. So I think sprinkling yourself, but I think one other thing is also being able to learn from every single one and like not even just as a lesson, but like who is this person that I'm talking to? Like maybe we're not friends, but what do I admire about them? Or like, there's I think everybody there is something really great to learn about every single person. So I'm always fascinated by people. Maybe I won't be friends with them, or maybe we won't have a long-standing relationship. But I think when I meet people, I'm genuinely curious about like who they are and what they do. It's like, why do you do that? Like, what makes you excited to get up in the morning? Like stuff like all those deep questions, I think everyone has a different answer to. So I think that's what keeps me interested and motivated to find new people.
Yes, it sounds like a curiosity about people and the understanding that you're not going to click and have this like soul heart connection with like every single person that you meet, kind of impossible. But to your earlier point, where sometimes there's this less tangible feeling that you get when you know, oh, this is working. There's
Mhm.
something here, there's collaboration potential, there's value alignment, and it's something that is not necessarily even something that's spoken or negotiated, it's something that's felt and known. So
Yeah.
yeah, so when it comes to um, life is short, being the leader of your own life, can you tell us about that phrase? Like that's something that you put on your intake form. So I'd love for you to share your outlook on that.
Um, yeah, I think it's just uh, life gets a lot better when you realize nobody cares, which is a really great thing. It's also a really sad thing. But I think at the end of the day, people are so involved and enveloped in their own lives that like whatever you're feeling or like let's say you're worried about making the first move and making the relationship or friendship, it's really not that deep. And then at the end of the day, you may not see this person ever again. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to make a fool of yourself or if you just like make a mistake, like it's at the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. So, I would say take the risk, like just make the move. And I think that's really where the magic happens. But yeah, people don't take enough risks. That's probably what it is.
Yeah. So like understanding that in that duality of life being short, but that doesn't mean it needs to be perfection, like pristine, clean, no mistakes ever. And having that grace with yourself to move forward, even when you're like, oops, shouldn't have said that thing to that person, or, oh, I could have done this better. It's using everything as a lesson. And I'd love
Yeah.
to even hear at the time of this recording, it's pre-launch, but you are getting closer and closer to having, Wax, this mobile service be a real thing that people can call up and have come to their homes. So if you were to have or if you could share with us a glimpse into your vision of what it will look like for a consumer to use Wax, what would that experience be like?
Yeah. Really just the way you would use Postmates or Instacart. Let's say you're a very busy individual and we expect our audience to be probably 85% women and like 15% men. But there's so many beauty services. Like a lot of women take on there's nails, there's hair, there's waxing and like Botox, all this stuff. And not only are we taking care of that, we're also taking care of the business or we're taking care of the house or the kids. And so I think this is really a service that will give time back to people because driving out of your driveway and then finding parking and it's just, I think people in our generation, especially like Americans, we care so much about our time and we value time as like money and currency. So I think it'll be fun just having the beauty services, but we're also going to be doing community events and bachelor parties or pop-up events with other businesses, local businesses and stuff like that. So really going to be a community effort to get this thing being very successful. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's giving time back. And hey, we're doing it in a Mercedes Sprinter. We're not gonna do it in a Ford or Kia. So you're gonna have this very luxury experience and no one's gonna come inside your house. So yeah, there's a lot of layers to it.
Right. And yeah, I mean, even thinking about, it's stay-at-home parent, a lot of people working from home these days where they have a pet, they have a human, there's something
Yeah.
keeping them in the house where maybe it's easier to step outside for a half an hour for this service and eliminate all that time back and forth. So yeah, I think especially I know I've been getting like mobile massages more recently. I think those popped up in the past 5 years or maybe sooner than that, but I became aware of them 5 years ago, and it's so nice to eliminate that. And it's cool to hear that you have this idea. And when I first heard it, I'm like, oh, that feels intuitive. How doesn't that exist already? It's because the future is like, okay, we're ready for it. We need someone to bring the idea forward. And you're like, okay, I'll bring the idea forward.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you think about timelines and success. I think this is cool because it's a time capsule, right? You're
Mhm.
right before the pre-launch. So I'd like you to walk us through briefly, like, when you got this idea until today when it's almost launched, like what that timeline was, and was it like a year? And then what you envision for Waxed in 5 years from now.
Yeah. Oh, exciting. So we incorporated about 8 to 9 months ago. We've been living in this area for basically a little bit over a year. So kind of if we didn't move out to this area, we wouldn't have like kind of come up with the idea. We wouldn't have known the pain points and stuff like that. So I'm very grateful. I think there's something to be learned about every situation you're in. And so incorporated 8 to 9 months ago, and then so right now is July, and South by Southwest was March.
2024.
So yeah, 2024. So talking to that investor was in March. And then probably just actually getting that physical check was May or end of May or something like that. So I think time has gone by really, really fast. And I wish it went by faster, but in the grand scheme of things, it actually was not that long. um, and we envision in about 3 to 4 months having the first van out. After the first van, within the next 5 to 6 months after that, it's the next sets and see where it goes. And we have this in our pitch deck, but like by year five, like I want to see like 30 to 40 on the road
Mm.
in potentially different cities and states. So yeah, we'll see. Like I don't know if that's really ambitious or holistically ambitious. um, but I'm excited, and I think Austin's the best place to do something like this because we all really love supporting local businesses.
And yeah, can you tell us more about why Austin? So you were previously in California, like myself. So I'm curious, how is Austin an ideal market for something like this, at least to start?
Yeah. Coming from California, as you know, there's a lot of competition in any kind of business. Not to say like there's not money and there's not growth, but I think when you come to a very thriving city like here in Austin, especially like when you go into downtown, everybody's like in their 20s and 30s, everybody's like fit and healthy and just very good looking people. We're all hustling really hard out here, but we're also playing really hard. Like we understand that work-life balance is a necessity. And so I think when you're put into an environment like this, it works perfectly because if you have a business now, then if you can imagine yourself in 5 years, that businesses are going to be thriving, but more and more people are coming to Austin every single day. And so if you, I don't know how many people here are listening that actually live in Austin, but there's a lot of construction going on and just a lot of communities being built. So we just know that the money is coming here. So I just, yeah, Texas, even Florida, like very great cities for thriving entrepreneurial businesses because of like the no state income tax.
Mhm.
So it fosters that kind of creativity.
Awesome. Well, I know we'll have to check back in the summer of 2029 and, see those 40 cars all around, maybe more. And gosh, yeah. So I'm curious, how do you define ambition?
I think needing, it's not needing, I don't want to say the word need, but being open-minded and believing that you can do it. I wrote on LinkedIn just like a few days ago where like growing up, like I didn't have ambition and I didn't have goals. Maybe because my inner child or the child at the time and like my adolescent brain was just like way too busy surviving instead of thriving. And so now I'm out of that environment. I'm like soaking everything in like a sponge. And so I'm like, I actually have so many goals and ambitions now that like I didn't really foster when I was younger. And so I think being staying curious. I think staying curious and then setting goals, realistic goals for yourself, um, really helps. It really helps to have the right community as well. I think people like you like really help the ecosystem, and it really brings other people. It's inspiring because you see one person doing it, and then you also get inspired to do the same. So yeah, little sprinkles of everything.
Ah, so much in there. And, I think I love your intention of building community around mobile services and, banding together in the space and, collaborations. And when it comes to this defining of ambition as being, and this is something that I think is really important to emphasize, going from a sort of maybe scarcity mindset, let's cover our basic needs, to, oh, maybe the basic needs are met, let's dream. What can we do from this place of rootedness and safety where creativity gets to flourish and become real, something that you think of that becomes real? So I love that you define ambitious and ambition in that way. And similarly, what does holistic ambition mean to you?
I think holistic ambition is being ambitious and having goals that actually align with your values. I mean, if deep down you're doing something, you're starting a business, or that might be a little shady, or like deep down in your heart you don't vibe with it, or it's not really calling to you, but you're doing it anyways because of money or because of X, Y, and Z. I think there really needs to be a bigger underlying factor than just capital and money alone, because money just goes so far. Like you're gonna run out of passion at a certain extent. And I think the holisticness comes from like, does this align with you? Does this make your heart and does that spark your joy? I don't know. What did Marie Kondo said something like that? You know what I'm talking about. But
Like, get rid of
yeah,
it if it's not bringing you joy.
exactly. Yeah. And you would be surprised. I mean, like, a lot of people nowadays, you and I probably run in the same group of people where we're having abundance mindset and we're thinking about all this. But I want to say maybe 80% of the population are still in this scarcity mindset. And it's really hard to get out of, but and they're just doing things because someone had told them so, and they're not really following their heart or other higher values.
Right. And another thing that you had mentioned, but I'd like to highlight for our listeners, is this whole legacy piece. You've implicitly mentioned, that you grew up physically in a salon around that environment of salons, and now you are taking that industry by storm and you're enabling the same services to reach more people and new, unique, and innovative ways. So, I mean, from a legacy perspective of kind of carrying out the legacy of your family business, can you tell us about your relationship with that?
Yeah, I really, the plan is for this to be a franchise opportunity.
Mhm.
So when we get to a certain point and we can grow in that sense, I want these women to, they're going to start off as employees, but I want them to gain the skills and everything that they need to become their own business owners. So they come to us and they're like, oh, we want to have our own van and we want to go ahead and like dominate this neighborhood. Of course, there's guidelines in place, but I want to really set these people up for success. And so I was like, I think that's how it's really going to grow. Like, I'm not gonna the investors and the money, like that's not all going to come through with one or two, five vans. But I think I'm trying to think really long term and seeing how this plays out. And I think going back to my mom and stuff like that, oh, I'm gonna get emotional. I don't think we had the best relationship growing up, but now that there's some time apart and for me to heal, it's been really interesting to see how this all played out. And of course, like I wouldn't be doing this, I wouldn't spend my time if I didn't think there was money and it was lucrative, but you can still turn it in a way where it's make an impact.
Yeah. Yeah. It is, you're touching on something that's so core. I think not many people talk about, and we don't have to go in depth, but a lot of people have complex relationships, with their family,
Yeah.
especially if you grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, it sounds like you did with their own business and you kind of being born into it and getting to
Just
watch
my
it,
mom.
you
My
know?
mom was the entrepreneur and my dad was like
Oh,
not. Yeah.
okay.
So
Oh,
that's really
that's kind of
interesting.
badass.
And being the only child, I was actually so tiny backstory because I know we're going to be running out of time.
Oh yeah.
I was born in China, and so when I was born in China, they had the one child policy. And so when I moved here when I was 4, like I mean, to this day, like my parents still don't speak fluent English, and they've been here for about 20 something years.
Mm.
And so I think there was a lot of like childhood trauma or like, I think everybody has their own story. But I think turning it around and being like, again, what can I learn from this? Or like what am I supposed to do with this information and story? Um, yeah, it's been interesting and seeing my mom like be the entrepreneur and then my dad, like that is you don't hear that often, especially 20 something years ago and stuff like that. So I'm grateful for it all. Like if I could go back and like change anything, like I don't know. I don't think I would want to, because then right, like you wouldn't be the person you are today.
And the opportunities that have been attracted to you and people understanding the vision and telling their friends, telling their business partners. Yeah. Like I love that you're really leading with trusting the process. And I love that, gosh, I'm so glad that we got that nugget at the end of, you know, of the legacy that you're carrying on. And also kind of like growing up, observing your mom as a female founder and navigating that, especially in a new to her country. And, it's when it comes to ambition, when it comes to legacy, there's something to be said about carrying the batons that have been passed to us from other generations and being like, okay, I'm going to go a little or a lot further. We're going to keep going. We're all in this life thing together. And gosh, I'm so inspired by your journey, and I'm sure other people listening, watching are too. How can they stay connected with and learn more about you?
Yeah, I am on LinkedIn, Yang Jessica one, and then my Instagram is like just.yangs or something. Well, Stephanie, you can put it in the description.
We'll put it in the show
Yes,
notes. But
yes.
oh my gosh, thank you so much for your time today, Jessica. And I would like to thank you at home for watching. Consider this your invitation to subscribe to be the very first to learn of the next holistic ambition speaker in our series. Wishing you a wonderfully ambitious day. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.